Well, Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins are entering their final season as a member of the Pac-12 before going over to play in the Big Ten Conference along with their fellow rival in USC. However, taking a look in 2023, well, you got to replace an all-worldly talented quarterback and a good running back, but the future is looking bright for Chip Kelly and company. Lots of good transfers, lots of good recruits. The future is looking bright. So will Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins find a way to sneak themselves into the Pac-12 championship game, or is this going to be a team that is going to be saying a bitter farewell to all of their competition on the West Coast? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS-level college football teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But you can do more than that to help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video. So while you're here, you might as well do more, right? By liking, commenting, sharing, and really anything else you guys can think of to help interact and support my channel. Whatever you guys are able to do, I greatly appreciate. With all the business stuff out of the way, let's get on to the actual meat of this video, and that is Chip Kelly's UCLA Bruins. Hey, how do we do preview predictions around here? Glad you asked. We take a look at a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming into the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Bruins football schedule and giving it a good old-fashioned game-by-game preview and prediction, right? So without further ado, let's talk about the UCLA Bruins in 2023. Again, as I mentioned, you have to replace an all-worldly talented quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. 3,154 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions on almost 70% completion percentage, and was the second leading rusher on this team with 646 yards and 12 touchdowns last season. So, who are your options to be able to replace DTR in this quarterback room? Well, you got a freshman coming over by the name of Dante Moore out of Detroit, Michigan. Your fifth overall recruit according to 24/7, a five-star player, almost a perfect player according to 24/7, or basically a 1.000. Keep on going. He's going to be a really good player, and right now is my nod to get that starting quarterback job. However, it would not surprise me if Chip Kelly were to give it to one of these other guys awaiting back there, and that is Ethan Garbers, who does come back to this program, as well as Colin Schlee, who is transferring over from Kent State. I think any one of those three guys will be a solid option. I think some have their benefits, and I shouldn't say some of their benefits. I think they all have their pros. They all have their cons. Of course, when you look at Garbers and Schlee, you're looking at experience. When you look at Dante Moore, probably more raw talent, but more inexperience, right? Again, my vote is Dante Moore, but wouldn't surprise me to see any of these other guys get the starting role. Running back room, you do lose Zach Charbonnet, a very good running back, former Michigan transfer, 1,359 yards, 14 rushing touchdowns last season, but you do get a 1,000-yard rusher coming in by the name of Carson Steele. Carson Steele's a transfer coming over from Ball State. Very talented player, not recruited out of high school, but is a 4-star rated transfer according to 24/7 in this year's transfer portal class. You also do return some very talented players in TJ Harden and Keegan Jones, who were your third and fourth leading rushers last season. Now, in the wide receiver room, you do lose Jake Bobo, who was your leading receiver, 817 yards with 7 touchdowns last season, as well as Casimir Allen. He was listed as a running back wide receiver combo, but in the running back room was the 5th leading rusher, only 15 carries, but did have 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. What he did as a wide receiver will only be the team's 2nd leading receiver, 49 catches, 403 yards, and 2 touchdowns last season for Casimir Allen. He is gone. You do return some pieces like Cam Brown, Titus Mokaya Atimalala. Apologies for mispronunciations across the board, among some other names, as well as getting some transfers coming in. The one I had room for, and the one that I thought would play a bigger role, is J. Michael Sturdivant coming over by way of Cal. But you are getting another 4-star rated transfer over from USC and Kyle Ford. So some pretty good pieces in the wide receiver room, as well as the tight end room. Michael Ezike is going to be gone. Ezike, however you pronounce that last name, I apologize. 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, leading tight end for them last year. However, Hudson Habermel is coming back, and you get a transfer coming over from Oregon in Moliki Matavao. On the offensive line, you do lose John Gaines, Antonio Maffei, and Raekwon O'Neal, but you return Garrett DiGiorgio and Duke Clemens, as well as getting a transfer from Purdue and Spencer Holstage. And right now, he's listed as a hard commit, but UCLA fans, let me know if that's changed. 69th overall rated player coming out of a community college, according to 24/7 Sports. That is Caleb Walker. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, really only one loss I could find on the defensive line. That was Jacob Sykes. Who is, I'm trying to find his stat line here. Okay, sorry, looking at the wrong line. I apologize for the big pause. But Sykes, 29 tackles in the sack last year. You do return the Murphy brothers, Gabriel and Grayson Murphy, as well as Jay Toai and Gary Smith, that are going to be some very good pieces on that defensive line. Linebacking room, yeah, you return pretty much every key contributor back from last year. Latu, apologies for mispronunciations, comes back. He was a very good player, was your sack leader last year, had 10.5 sacks. Very, very good player. Your second leading tackler, or I should say tied for your first leading tackler with 91 tackles. Derek Moasau is coming back, as well as John Vaughns, who was your fourth leading tackler, and Carl Jones also returns. And then the defensive back room, well, you do lose some nice pieces here. Morel Osling was tied for that leading tackler position with 91 tackles, also had 3 passes defended. Azizi Hearn, very good player of himself, led the team with 7 passes defended, 6th leading tackler with 40 of them. And Stephen Blaylock was your 3rd leading tackler, also had 2 sacks and an interception for the Bruins last season. However, you return a plethora amount of talent. Devin Kirkwood, Jalen Davies, Kenny Churchwell, and Andrew Johnson all return, as well as getting a transfer coming over by the name of Jordan Anderson. He comes over by way of Bowling Green and is a 4-star rated transfer. So defense definitely, I think, has some really good potential this year. I think they got a lot of nice players, and depending on how well the quarterback position fills in, UCLA's offense is going to be very good as well. Head coaches Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator Brian Norwood, defensive coordinator DeAnton Lynn. As we take a look at the schedule for your UCLA Bruins, any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game that the Bruins are going to have to play on the road is going to be in italics or in the slanted text. Again, I apologize for that long pause earlier. I really, really do. Any game in green is going to be a game that I think UCLA is going to be able to win fairly easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, hey, the other team's going to put up a fight, but UCLA is going to win, and red is a loss. So let's predict the Bruins in 2023. Your first game, well, you don't have to travel to Conway for this one, but the team in Conway comes to you. Grayson McCall and company come over by way of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Now, I still think that's going to be a very solid team out of the Sun Belt Conference. As long as Grayson McCall is there, I think they're going to be a solid team. But they definitely are not as talented in years past. They also are getting a new head coach, I believe, by the name of Tim Beck. I actually just visited Conway this past summer. Pretty cool stadium. However, sorry to my friends in Conway. I do not think you will have much luck against the UCLA Bruins. Grayson McCall is going to make a lot of plays in this game, but I think UCLA defensively will step up and make some plays, as well as offensively be able to score enough to win against Coastal Carolina, so UCLA wins that game. Then you got to go on the road to play in, I believe it's called Snapdragon Stadium, against the San Diego State Aztecs, and I do believe that the Aztecs are going to put up a good fight. I think defensively, this Aztec team is equipped to handle what UCLA is going to throw at them on the offensive end. I think they're going to be able to slow down quarterback play. I think they're going to be able to slow down that rushing attack there as well. And this might be a game where UCLA struggles a little bit, but I think UCLA's defense steps up, makes some plays, and the offense does just enough to be able to outscore San Diego State, and UCLA will walk away 2-0, 3-0 after beating North Carolina Central. Not a game I have to talk about any longer. So then you go on the road against Utah. Really, not necessarily your first test, but your first big test, right? Going on the road against Utah is going to be a very, very tough task, and I don't see UCLA having much luck doing so. Utah, I think, is still going to be a very good physical defense, even though they do have to recoup and reload after some key players lost. But Cam Rising, he is coming off knee surgery, but I think he should be healthy and ready to go by this point. They're optimistic on him being ready before the season, so by this point, I think he'll be great. His experience, coupled with a lot of the talent on this Utah offense, I think will outpower UCLA, and the Bruins will pick up their first loss of the year. And then you get your bye week. In my opinion, not the best place for a bye week. You'd want to have it later, but then you get to come back home to the Rose Bowl and play Washington State, a game that I think you are going to win. Now, there's a lot of new wide receivers coming in for Washington State this year, but Cameron Ward does come back. It's a very talented quarterback. Defensively, okay, you got your pieces here and there, but I think UCLA is going to be able to power through that Washington State defense, be able to come up with some really, really good plays, maybe even force a turnover or two. And while the Cougars keep it close, the Bruins prevail and come out on top. Now talking about the Oregon State Beavers, oh, this is a sleeper in the Pac-12. I tell you what, Oregon State's going to be a very, very talented team. You got DJ Uiagalelei coming in there, some absolute studs in the running back room, wide receiver room. Okay, we'll see what they have there. But defensively, I think they got a lot of really nice pieces, some good transfers coming over to bolster that unit on top of what they lost as well. I think Oregon State's got all the makings for a great, great team in the Pac-12. And going on the road, I don't see UCLA having much luck there with that one. I think Oregon State's simply just going to be able to do enough to be able to win that game. But then UCLA gets a nice bounce-back game on the road at Stanford. Now, this is one of the games where I have the Cardinal being competitive, but really, when I break it down and look at Stanford, I think Troy Taylor's got a long rebuild ahead of him. I think that program needs some years to be able to get back up off the ground. So Stanford I do have being slightly competitive in this game, but likely a game you could put in green there as well. When you take a look at the Colorado game, this is also a game I think UCLA is going to win. Again, I'm of the mind that Deion Sanders, who has flipped Boulder upside down, is going to be able to win relatively quickly. I don't know that it's going to be this year. Give time for those players to get into the Deion Sanders system and play in a power conference with a lot of talented teams this year, and Colorado will start winning, but it won't be this game. So UCLA beats Colorado. They improved to 6-2, but do I hear the upset bell? I think I do. I think I hear the upset bell because I think Arizona is going to be able to pull this win off, and may not be an upset to some, but hey, when you take a look at what this Arizona team is, yes, they lost a lot of key contributors defensively, either to the portal or to pursue things other than football. If not, I think even some guys going on to the NFL on that defense. But when you look at what they have offensively, Jaden Delora is back at quarterback. He has a lot of very talented pieces at the wide receiver position and along that offense as well. I think Arizona is going to be able to pull off an upset, and I think the talent they have there on defense, especially by this point in the season, sorry, I just hit my microphone, is going to be able to get some things rolling. And Arizona, I have pulling off the upset there to be able to give UCLA their third loss on the year, but the Bruins bounce back nicely with a win against Arizona State. Arizona State, I think, has got a lot of nice talent. They're bringing in a lot of very good transfers in first-year head coach Kenny Dillingham's first season. However, when I take a look at this team, I think it's going to take some time for Dillingham to figure things out as a head coach. He was a very good offensive coordinator for Oregon and has got a pretty talented team there. I think Arizona State's going to be competitive. I just don't know that it leads to many wins here in 2023. They may be a disappointment heading into next season, so I do have the Bruins beating them. I do have them losing to USC. Like, USC, I think, is going to be a very superior team this year, especially offensively. Now, the defense, okay, it's got to prove to me that it can get better, but it did add a lot of depth. And again, we know what this team is going to be offensively with Caleb Williams. They got a lot of very good pieces there. They're going to be very dynamic. I think they're going to overload UCLA offensively. Defense even steps up and makes some plays here and there as well for USC as the Trojans march on to that win. But then I do have UCLA being able to bounce back nicely and beat Cal. Now, Cal is a team this year where I think they got a lot of very nice talent, and I think Justin Wilcox is a pretty solid head coach. It's just Cal is in a conference with a lot of very, very, very talented teams. I think UCLA is going to be able to push them around a little bit by this point in the season. They're going to want to look to get to that 8-win mark, which is what I think they do. Now, again, if quarterback play is just absolutely outstanding and some of these guys break out, UCLA can be a much better team. But again, really tricky schedule with the way the Pac-12 is going to play out this year. I got them going 8-4. Let me know what you guys think about the Bruins in the comments section below. Hey, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. I'll see all you guys later. Goodbye.